Guys, Mr. Sonnenberg here. Today we're going to be talking about keeping yourself warm, which seems like the type of topic that might be relatively easy and common sense, but there's a lot of things we're going to talk about specifically to keeping yourself warm and how different cultures have kept themselves warm that are pretty amazing actually that they've thought of these things, and a lot of these principles that they follow are things that we've piggybacked off of in clothing and ways that we keep warm. So I have to apologize about the lighting in the room I'm in right now. I know my last screencast I didn't realize how dark it was, so it might appear as if I'm doing this in the dark. I assure you that I'm not. So the first thing we're going to talk about is people of the north, so the Caribou Inuit. So what they do is they wear two complete suits on cold days, and we'll talk about how they insulate themselves. So first of all, the inner set is worn with fur next to the skin, and what that's going to do is it's going to wick away body moisture, and then that body moisture is then transferred through the fur and then through the leather skin, so it's going to keep them dry and it's going to keep them warm. Um, One thing we need to know about caribou fur, which they're going to use, it's quite dense, and then the individual hair is actually going to be hollow. So, um, excuse me, those hollow hairs are actually, as there's airspace in between them, it's actually going to create extra insulation. So caribou fur is typically what they use because it's really good for those purposes. So the outer parka that they wear, and I'll show you some pictures after, that they wear is it's actually worn on the with the fur on the outside. And basically what happens is they have the hood. There's always a hood on the parka, and it's going to trap air in front of the wearer's face. So really what that's going to do is it's actually designed to prevent condensation, and condensation is going to be the formation of water droplets or such, and that's actually going to the hood's actually going to prevent that from forming into ice on cold days and freezing to their face and then freezing their skin, causing frostbite. So the edge of the hood where the ice might form is actually trimmed with fur. So they use things like wolverine, wolf, and some dog fur, okay, because the ice actually won't stick to that. So that protects them from water vapor from the lungs when they exhale, from condensing and freezing to their faces and their clothing, thus keeping them warm. Then the Caribou Inuit also wear up to 4 layers on their feet in the winter. So they use a lot of seal skin, and of course I spelled preferred wrong. I apologize about that. But they use seal skin on their boots because it's waterproof. So keeping the water away and the moisture out is actually going to keep them warm as well. So here's some examples of what I'm talking about. So if you just take a look up here at the fur. Well, that fur is actually really what it's doing is it's going to prevent condensation. When we exhale water vapor as well as carbon dioxide, and so that water vapor and the heating of the air from the warmth of our inside is we keep our internal temperature at 37 degrees Celsius. That's what we call homeostasis. So what's happening is they line it with fur, and it's going to prevent ice from forming and sticking in the face. And if you take a look over here, well, the caribou fur, it's actually, like I said, it's going to be hollow, and it's going to have air spaces in it, which is going to create extra insulation. But they wear these different suits based on the temperature. Down here we have sealskin boots. Okay, again, reason for sealskin boots is because they're waterproof. So that is ways that the Caribou Inuit actually keep themselves warm in the winter and in extreme temperatures. So some things that we can do on cold days to keep ourselves warm is we can wear several layers, and so if you want to do so, you're going to add more layers. So things like underwear, shirts, sweatpants, pants, and a jacket. So we're going to choose inner layers that for their open weave and their thickness, and then what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to trap air in the materials to serve as an insulator. And that insulator is actually going to prevent heat transfer, and it's going to keep us warm. And then also if we have a windproof outer layer, that's going to keep warm air from escaping. And one thing I still don't get is teenagers. I don't know if you guys are going through this or you're too old for this, but I know in junior high that kids walk around with their t-shirts all the time. And it just blows me away that they can manage, because I'm always freezing on those days and they're walking in t-shirts like it's 30 above. So maybe it's just internal temperature working a little bit better there, and heat transfer in teenagers. Maybe it's the hormones, I don't know. But if you take a look at the bottom, you can see how fun it is to stay warm in the winter. That young fella's having a great time. So some of the warmest winter clothes are things that have down, and I remember I always wanted a North Face down vest. And finally I got it when I was in college, and it was just a big sweat fest. That's all it was, because it was so good. But down is actually it comes from birds, and it's going to be the under feather of the bird underneath their actual feathers. So the jacket material keeps air from blowing through the down and changing cold air from warm. So there's the prevention of that occurring. So if you take a look, down feathers come from what I'm assuming is this little fella right here. Pretty cute. And then it's placed in jackets and other clothing, and that's going to help keep us warm. So some of the warmest winter clothes we have are down filled. And then keeping cool. So question to you is, are you surprised when you see people in hot areas wear so many clothes? So example would be robes, like in the picture below. Extremely hot temperatures there. Why would you wear so many clothes? Why wouldn't you wear limited clothes and to prevent the heat? But really what happens is they do this to minimize heat transfer. So these long thick robes actually protect the body from the sun's rays, which is going to create heat transfer. Remember that light colored clothing will reflect heat and allow the body heat to escape. So what we're doing is, if we can take a page out of reflective principles and understand that light colored clothing is going to reflect. So on a hot day, for example, if I had dark jeans versus light jeans, I'd want to wear my light jeans because they're going to reflect more light and prevent heat transfer from occurring. Same thing with t-shirts. I'd probably want to wear a white t-shirt versus a black t-shirt, because the black t-shirt is going to absorb heat and the white is going to reflect. If I was wearing a cowboy hat going to Stampede, I'd probably want to wear a white cowboy hat on a hot day as opposed to a black cowboy hat. But then there's a few things like firefighters, for example. So their job doesn't stop. They'll be doing this in the extreme heat in the summer. They'll also have to fight fires in the extreme cold in the winter. And so firefighter suits are actually made of special materials with flame retardant chemicals. And flame retardant chemicals mean that they don't catch on fire. So in your school, actually, a lot of your teachers have to use this fire retardant spray, and you have to spray whiteboards and stuff like that. Anything that's going to contain papers, it's going to prevent those things from starting on fire. So the material inside the suit of a firefighter, though, is going to absorb body moisture to prevent the body from overheating. Because one of the main things that could happen to a firefighter, when even in the winter, is they could get heat stroke. And then what they do to make sure and to test the boots, the gloves, the suits, everything that firefighter wears, is they use and then they test it on mannequins to ensure that the materials work proper. But then in dive suits as well, so now we're talking about extreme cold, okay? So we might go in the lake or the ocean at times, but we're on surface level where there's a lot of sunlight changing the heat capacity of the water and changing the temperature of the water. But when divers go deep below the depths of the water and the surface, some things have to be in place for these dive suits to ensure that they're maintaining their heat and there's not a lot of heat transfer. So what they actually have are hoods for the same reason as winter parkas have hoods. So underwater, what happens is you lose a great amount of heat through the diver's head. So these caps are really tightly sealed to prevent heat transfer. And so anyways, that's basically all I have on keeping yourself warm. Remember, when you do this, you want to wear several layers, and then we can take a page out of different cultures and why they wear certain things to ensure that they prevent heat transfers. Heat transfer is obtaining heat, but also giving off heat. So we want to keep heat in when we're in cold, and we want to transfer heat and reflect it away in hot temperatures. Okay, thanks for tuning in, guys. Bye.